Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today, we are going to read this rule number 18, that is movable, immovable, and valuable property. So, here we begin. It says, every government servant shall, on his first appointment to any service or post, submit a return of his asset and liabilities in such form as may be prescribed by the government, giving the full particulars regarding. देखिए, जैसे ही आपकी जब फर्स्ट सर्विस लगती है, ठीक है, जैसे आपकी फर्स्ट अपॉइंटमेंट होती है, ठीक है, तो फर्स्ट अपॉइंटमेंट पे जो है आपको एक रिटर्न ऑफ एसेट्स जो है और लाइबिलिटीज वो आपको सबमिट करनी होती है, ठीक है, रिगार्डिंग क्या, दैट इज द इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी इनहेरिटेड बाय हिम, ठीक है, कौन कौन सी इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी है जो उनके पास है, owned or acquired by him, held by him on lease, on mortgage, either in his own name or in the name of any member of his family or in the name of any other person. कोई भी immovable property, ठीक है, जो कि उनके इनहेरिट हुई है, इनहेरिट बाय हिम, या फिर ओन करी जा रही है, एक्वायर करी जा रही है, और हेल्ड बाय हिम, ठीक है, ऑन लीज पे है, मोर्गेज पे है, इधर इन हिज ओन नेम, या तो उनके अपने नाम पे है, ठीक है, और इन द नेम ऑफ एनी मेंबर ऑफ हिज फैमिली, या फिर किसी और के नाम पे, और इन द नेम ऑफ एनी अदर पर्सन. आगे है नेक्स्ट आपका कोई भी शेयर्स, डिबेंचर्स एंड कैश इंक्लूडिंग बैंक डिपॉजिट इनहेरिटेड बाय हिम और सिमिलरली ओन्ड, एक्वायर्ड और हेल्ड बाय हिम, ठीक है. तो सेकंड वाला पॉइंट आता है आपका, दैट इज शेयर्स कुछ भी है, डिबेंचर्स एंड कैश इंक्लूडिंग बैंक डिपॉजिट, वो आपको बताना होता है. थर्ड है आपका अदर मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी इनहेरिटेड बाय हिम और सिमिलरली ओन्ड, और कोई भी मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी भी है, ठीक है, तो वो इसके बारे में बताना है. ओन्ड, एक्वायर्ड और हेल्ड बाय हिम, और कोई भी डेट और लाइबिलिटीज, कोई भी उनके ऊपर अगर डेट है, लाइबिलिटीज है इनकर्ड हिम डायरेक्टली या इनडायरेक्टली, तो वो जो है आपको बतानी होती है. तो यहाँ पर क्या बोलता है, सब रूल 1 की अगर हम बात करें, ठीक है, शेल नॉट ऑर्डिनली अप्लाई टू क्लास 4 सर्वेंट्स बट द गवर्नमेंट मेड एट दैट इट्स अप्लाई टू एनी सच गवर्नमेंट और क्लास, ठीक है. ऑर्डिनरली है जो है, मतलब सब रूल 1 की अगर हम बात करें दिस, तो ये ऑर्डिनरली शेल नॉट अप्लाई, ओके, शेल नॉट ऑर्डिनली अप्लाई टू क्लास 4 पे जो है ऑर्डिनरी अप्लाई नहीं होती है, ओके, बट द गवर्नमेंट मे डायरेक्ट, गवर्नमेंट जो है डायरेक्ट कर सकती है इस केस में. Second hand note 2, in all returns the value of items of movable property worth less than 10,000, okay, may be added and shown as lump sum. The value of articles of daily use such as need not be included such return, ठीक है. तो इसके अंदर जो वैल्यू है रिटर्न, द वैल्यू ऑफ आइटम्स जो मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी है वर्थ लेस देन 10,000, ठीक है, जो 10,000 रुपये से नीचे है, उसको दैट में बी एडेड एंड शोन एज लमसम, तो आप लमसम में दिखा सकते हैं. Where a government servant already belonging to a service or holding a post is appointed to any other civil service or post, he shall not be required to submit a fresh return under this clause, ठीक है. कोई भी गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट है, ही इज ऑलरेडी बिलोंगिंग टू अ सर्विस और होल्डिंग अ पोस्ट एंड इज अपॉइंटेड टू एनी अदर सिविल सर्विस, किसी और सिविल सर्विस में चला जाता है, तो देन ही शैल नॉट बी रिक्वायर्ड टू सबमिट एन फ्रेश रिटर्न, तो उसको दोबारा से भरने की जरूरत नहीं होगी, ओके. नेक्स्ट बोलते हैं आपके पास, अब इसका सेकंड पार्ट बोलते हैं, ये फर्स्ट है आपका, तो सेकंड बोलते बोलते एवरी गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट बिलोंगिंग टू एनी सर्विस और होल्डिंग एनी पोस्ट included in group A or group B shall submit an annual return in such form as may be prescribed by the government in this regard, giving full particular regarding the immovable property inherited by him or owned or acquired by him or held by his mortgage either in his own name or in the name of any or in the name of any other person, ठीक है. तो एवरी गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट की बात हो रही है यहाँ पे, जो भी गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट है बिलोंगिंग टू एनी सर्विस, ठीक है, बिलोंगिंग टू एनी सर्विस, होल्डिंग एनी पोस्ट इंक्लूडेड इन द ग्रुप ए, या तो ग्रुप ए और जो ग्रुप बी है, ठीक है, दे शैल सबमिट एन एनुअल रिटर्न, उनको एक फाइल करनी होती है इन सच फॉर्म एज जैसे गवर्नमेंट दिया रहता है, ठीक है, इन दिस रिगार्ड गिविंग फुल पर्टिकुलर्स रिगार्डिंग दी इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी इनहेरिटेड बाय हिम और ओन्ड और एक्वायर्ड बाय हिम और हेल्ड बाय हिम, मतलब कुछ भी है तो वो आपको इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी के रिगार्डिंग देनी है, ठीक है. नेक्स्ट आपका, नो गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट शेल एक्सेप्ट विद द प्रीवियस नॉलेज ऑफ द प्रिस्क्राइब्ड अथॉरिटी एक्वायर और डिस्पोज ऑफ एनी इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी by lease, mortgage, purchase, sale, gift or otherwise either in his own name or in the name of any other family member. ठीक है, तो आपको जो है कोई भी गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट एक्सेप्ट विद द प्रीवियस नॉलेज ऑफ द प्रिस्क्राइब्ड अथॉरिटी, या तो आप एक्वायर करेंगे या फिर डिस्पोज ऑफ एनी इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी, ठीक है, नहीं करनी है आपको वो। Provided that the previous sanction of the prescribed authority shall be obtained in the government if such transaction is with the person having official dealings with him, ठीक है। और इसके अलावा भी बोलते हैं कि प्रीवियस सैंक्शन की जरूरत पड़ेगी कहाँ पर, ऑफ द प्रिस्क्राइब्ड अथॉरिटी शैल बी ऑब्टेन्ड, प्रीवियस सैंक्शन आपको लेना है इफ एनी सच ट्रांजेक्शन इज विद अ पर्सन हैविंग ऑफिशियल डीलिंग, जिनके साथ है तो उनके लिए आपको प्रीवियस सैंक्शन लेने की जरूरत है, जिनके साथ ऑफिशियल डीलिंग्स है आपकी, उनके साथ अगर आप ऐसा करते हैं तो यस। फिर थर्ड बोलता है where a government servant enters into a transaction in respect of a movable property in either his own name or in the name of a member of his family, he shall within 1 month from the date of such transaction report the same to the prescribed authority if the value of such exceeds 2 months basic pay। ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। अगर आपकी कोई भी जो कोई भी ट्रांजेक्शन होती है ना, तो आपके खुद के नाम पर एक फैमिली के नंबर, विद इन 1 मंथ आपको 1 महीने के अंदर विद इन 1 मंथ फ्रॉम द ट्रांजेक्शन रिपोर्ट टू द प्रिस्क्राइब अथॉरिटी, ठीक है, if the value of such property exceeds 2 months basic pay, अगर आपकी 2 महीने की बेसिक पे से ज़्यादा है तो आपको वो रिपोर्ट करना है, ठीक है। और ये किस चीज़ के केस में बोल रहे हैं, मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी जब भी गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट एंटर्स इनटू अ ट्रांजैक्शन इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ अ मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी, जिसको आप मूव कर, जैसे बाइक वगैरह हो गया इस तरीके से, इधर इन हिज नेम और मेंबर और फैमिली, ही शैल विद इन 1 मंथ रिपोर्ट दैट इफ जो है उसकी वैल्यू जो है 2 महीने की बेसिक पे से ज़्यादा होती है तो आपको बताना है। प्रोवाइड द प्रीवियस सैंक्शन ऑफ द शैल बी ऑब्टेन्ड, और वही सिंपल फंडा है आपका, दोबारा से प्रीवियस सैंक्शन अगर लेनी है आपको, अगर आपके पास किसी के साथ ऑफिशियल डीलिंग्स है तो आपको इस केस में प्रीवियस सैंक्शन लेनी है, ठीक है। नेक्स्ट है आपका द गवर्नमेंट जो है और द प्रिस्क्राइब अथॉरिटी में एट एनी टाइम बाय जनरल और स्पेशल ऑर्डर रिक्वायर अ गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट टू फर्निश within a period specified in the order a full and complete statement of such movable or immovable property held or acquired by him or on his behalf or by any member of his family as may be specified in the order. Such statement shall, if so required by the government, by the prescribed authority, include the details of all means by which the source property was acquired, ठीक है। अगर गवर्नमेंट चाहे तो ये गवर्नमेंट जो है या फिर जो भी प्रिस्क्राइब अथॉरिटी है या फिर गवर्नमेंट जो है में एट एनी टाइम, वो कहते हैं किसी भी टाइम, या किसी भी टाइम आपको एट एनी टाइम जो है बाय जनरल या फिर स्पेशल ऑर्डर जो है आपसे रिक्वायर अ गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट टू फर्निश, रिक्वायर किसी टाइम पे बोल सकते हैं, ओके आप मुझे टू फर्निश, आप मुझे फर्निश कीजिए विद इन अ पीरियड स्पेसिफाइड, ठीक है, फुल एंड कंप्लीट स्टेटमेंट ऑफ सच मूवेबल, अपना मूवेबल और इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी के बारे में बयान दीजिए सारा का सारा, ठीक है। हेल्ड एंड एक्वायर्ड बाय हिम on his behalf and by any member of his family as specified in the order. Such statement shall, if so required by the government, shall include the details of the means by which, और उसके अंदर इंक्लूड होना चाहिए क्या, बोलता है द डिटेल्स ऑफ मींस बाय विच और द सोर्स फ्रॉम विच दैट प्रॉपर्टी वाज एक्वायर्ड, जिससे वो एक्वायर की गई थी वो आपको बताना है। नेक्स्ट बात करते हैं, द गवर्नमेंट में एग्जेम्प्ट एनी कैटेगरी ऑफ गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट बिलोंगिंग टू क्लास 3 और क्लास 4 फ्रॉम एनी प्रोविजंस ऑफ दिस रूल एक्सेप्ट सब रूल 4, ठीक है। नो सच एक्सेप्शन शैल हाउएवर बी मेड विदाउट द कंक्लूजन ऑफ द कैबिनेट सेक्रेटरीट, ओके। ये इंपॉर्टेंट है कि जो सब रूल 4 है, देखिए गवर्नमेंट जो है एग्जेम्प्ट कर सकती है अपने, गवर्नमेंट जो है नो सच एग्जेम्पशन शैल बी हाउएवर बी मेड विद द कंकरेंस ऑफ द विदाउट द कंकरेंस ऑफ द कैप्सैक डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पर्सनल में आप किसी को कर सकती हैं, लेकिन मे एग्जेम्प्ट ये कर सकते हैं गवर्नमेंट मे एग्जेम्प्ट एनी कैटेगरी लाइक क्लास 3 बिलोंगिंग टू क्लास 3 फ्रॉम दी एनी ऑफ द प्रोविजन ऑफ द रूल एक्सेप्ट 4, ठीक है, यानी कि 1 2 3 में से किसी को भी आपको एग्जेम्प्ट कर सकती है, ठीक है। ये तो रहे हमारे बेसिक एक तरीके से। अब इन्होंने कुछ एक्सप्लेनेशन दे रखी है यहाँ पर फॉर द पर्पज ऑफ दिस। अब यहाँ पे बोलते हैं यहाँ पर मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी के अंदर मतलब क्या क्या आता है, प्रिस्क्राइब अथॉरिटी कौन है, वो सब कुछ आपके अंदर इसके अंदर बताया गया है। देख लेते हैं क्या क्या है। The expression movable property includes क्या क्या, ज्वेलरी, ठीक है, मूवेबल में ज्वेलरी, इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी, एनुअल प्रीमियम ऑफ विच एक्सीड्स 2 मंथ्स बेसिक पे, शेयर्स, ठीक है। तो कोई भी ज्वेलरी है आपके पास, अगर मान लीजिए कोई ज्वेलरी है, ज्वेलरी राइट, इट्स ज्वेलरी नॉट ज्वेलरी, इट्स ज्वेलरी कोई भी है, देन इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसीज है, कोई भी एनुअल प्रीमियम ऑफ विच जैसे अगर 2 मंथ बेसिक पे से बढ़ती है आपकी, ठीक है। शेयर सिक्योरिटी वो आपको पहले, all loan whether secured or not advance or taken, ठीक है, all type of loans, देन वी हैव मोटर कार, मोटरसाइकिल, horses और एनी अदर मीन्स ऑफ कन्वेंस, वो भी आपका horses भी है इसके अंदर, ठीक है। देन रेफ्रिजरेटर, रेडियो एटसेट्रा। देन वी हैव रेडियोग्राम्स, टेलीविजन सेट एटसेट्रा। प्रिस्क्राइब अथॉरिटी मीन्स, प्रिस्क्राइब अथॉरिटी का मतलब क्या है, दैट द गवर्नमेंट इन द केस ऑफ government servant holding any class 1 post except where any lower authority is specifically specified by the government for any purpose. Head of department in the case of class 2 and head of office in the case of class 3. तो यहाँ पर बोलता है गवर्नमेंट, यहाँ पर कोई मतलब गवर्नमेंट इन द केस ऑफ क्लास 1 सर्वेंट होल्डिंग एनी क्लास 1 पोस्ट, ठीक है। हेड ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट इन द केस ऑफ क्लास 2 और हेड ऑफ ऑफिस इन द केस ऑफ क्लास 3 और क्लास 4, ठीक है। तो यहाँ पर बोल रखा है होल्डिंग क्लास में एक्सेप्ट where any lower authority is specifically specified by the government for any purpose. In respect of government servant, in respect of a government servant on foreign service, अगर मान लीजिए कोई फॉरेन सर्विस पर है, कोई भी गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट जो है फॉरेन सर्विस पर है, और ऑन डेपुटेशन टू एनी अदर मिनिस्ट्री, डेपुटेशन पर है टू एनी मिनिस्ट्री इन द गवर्नमेंट, द पेरेंट डिपार्टमेंट ऑन द cadre of which such government servant is born or the ministry to which he is administratively subordinate as the member of that cadre, ठीक है। तो इसके प्रिस्क्राइब अथॉरिटी कौन होगा, ये होगा द पेरेंट cadre, जो भी उनका पेरेंट cadre है ऑन द cadre, the parent department on the cadre of which such government servant is born or the ministry to which he is administratively subordinate as member of that cadre, ठीक है। अब बात करते हैं एक्सप्लेनेशन 2, बोलता है फॉर द पर्पज ऑफ दिस रूल लीज, लीज का मतलब होता है एक्सेप्ट where it is obtained from or granted to a person having official dealings with the government a lease of immovable property from year to year or for any term exceeding 1 year or reserving a yearly rent। देखिए एक्सप्लेनेशन 2 दिया है इन्होंने, क्या दे रखा है यहाँ पर कि फॉर द पर्पज ऑफ दिस रूल लीज, यहाँ पर लीज का मतलब वो कहता है, लीज का मतलब क्या है, लीज का मतलब होता है लीज मीन्स एक्सेप्ट, मतलब उसको छोड़ के, किसको छोड़ के, वेयर इट इज ऑब्टेन्ड फ्रॉम और ग्रांटेड टू अ पर्सन हैविंग ऑफिशियल डीलिंग्स विद द गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट a lease of immovable property, ठीक है, a lease of immovable property from year to year or for any term exceeding 1 year, ठीक है, और रिजर्विंग अ ईयरली रेंट। फुल यहाँ पर लीज का मतलब है, यहाँ पर इन्होंने बोला है ना कि आप जो है लीज पे नहीं ले सकते हैं। देखिए अगर मैं आपको कहूँ यहाँ से वापस से चले इसको, एक एक चीज़ पर ध्यान देना यार, क्योंकि अभी जस्ट फर्स्ट टाइम रीडिंग कर रहे हैं तो इट्स बिकम्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। हाँ ये देखिए, तो इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी ना, फर्स्ट वाले देखिए आप 18 का फर्स्ट का ए पार्ट, द इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी इनहेरिटेड बाय हिम, ओन्ड और एक्वायर्ड बाय हिम और ऑन हिम ऑन लीज, हेल्ड बाय हिम ऑन लीज, अगर आपके पास कोई लीज पर भी है, ठीक है, मॉर्गेज कर रखा है आपने, के लिए लीज का यहाँ पर बोलता है फॉर एक्सेप्ट वेयर इट इज ऑब्टेन फ्रॉम, तो उनका बताना है वेयर इट इज ऑब्टेन फ्रॉम और ग्रांटेड टू अ पर्सन हैविंग ऑफिशियल डीलिंग्स द गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट a lease of immovable property from year to year or any term exceeding 1 year, और जो है any term exceeding 1 year और रिजर्विंग a yearly rent, ठीक है। चलिए यहाँ तक ये क्लियर हो गया अब आपका, यहाँ तक क्लियर हो गया, राइट। चलिए बात करते हैं कुछ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया डिसीजन, होता है इन परसेंस ऑफ सब रूल 1 of 18 सिविल सर्विसेज कंडक्ट रूल 1994। हमारे पास जो ये मूवेबल जो है, ये आपका बेसिकली 4 रूल आए हैं, इसके अंदर 5 रूल हैं देखा जाए तो फर्स्ट रूल के बारे में कहता है, जिसके अंदर बोलता है कि एवरी गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट जो है शैल ऑन हिज फर्स्ट अपॉइंटमेंट टू सच सर्विस सबमिट अ रिटर्न ऑफ हिज एसेट्स एंड लायबिलिटीज, ठीक है, जैसे बोलेगा उसके अंदर क्या क्या है, इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी जो उसने ले रखी है, ओन कर रखी है, एक्वायर कर रखी है, उनके पास लीज पर है, मॉर्गेज पर है, इधर इन हिज ओन नेम, नेम ऑफ फैमिली मेंबर या फिर किसी भी नेम ऑफ एनी अदर पर्सन, शेयर डिबेंचर्स कैश इंक्लूडिंग डिपॉजिट्स इनहेरिटेड बाय हिम, कैसे भी मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी, मूवेबल इमूवेबल, शेयर, डेट, लायबिलिटी, सब कुछ देना है आपको, कैश डिबेंचर सब कुछ। तो यहाँ पे बोलता है पहले इन पर्सन्स ऑफ सब रूल 1 ऑफ 18, रूल 18 ऑफ द सेंट्रल सिविल सर्विसेज कंडक्ट रूल 1964, रीड विद नोट 3, ओके। नोट 3 क्या कहता है आपका, नोट 3 बोलता है वेयर अ गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट एंटर्स इनटू ट्रांसफर दिस प्रॉपर्टी विद मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी, तो आपको बताना है विद इन 1 मंथ वैल्यू से 2 मंथ्स की बेसिक पे अगर आपकी वो होती है तो, ठीक है। तो बोलता है प्रिस्क्राइब्स द फॉर्म स्पेसिफाइड इन द शेड्यूल टू दिस ऑर्डर एज फॉर्म्स इन विच द रिटर्न रेफर टू shall be submitted by every government servant on his first appointment after the date of issue, okay, every government servant who is in service on the date of issue of this order, okay, then that the first return in respect of a government servant on his first such appointment to any service or post shall be as on the date of such appointment and shall be submitted within 3 months. कब तक करनी है? The first return in respect of a government servant on his first appointment to any service or post shall be as on the date of such appointment and shall be submitted, and it shall be submitted to him within 3 months. 3 months from the date, and every such return after the first and every होता है from that date, and every such return after the first shall be submitted as on and by the date specified in clause C in respect of returns after the first return, provided that if the interval between the date of submission of the first return and the date of which a subsequent return is due is less than 6 months, and later return need not be submitted. ठीक है, यहाँ पर जो है आपको कुछ चीज़ें बोली गई हैं. सबसे पहले आपको विद इन 3 मंथ जो है कर देना है, और नेक्स्ट रिटर्न का टाइम अगर उसके अंदर 6 महीने से कम है टाइम, फिर अगले साल भरेंगे, उस साल नहीं भरनी. ठीक है, ये चीज़ यहाँ बोला गया है इसके अंदर. एवरी गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट हु इज इन सर्विस एज ऑन डेट ऑफ इशू ऑफ दिस ऑर्डर. दो बंदों को यहाँ पे करना है, एवरी पर्सन फर्स्ट अपॉइंटमेंट पे, और एवरी गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट जो है सर्विस ऑन द डेट ऑफ दिस ऑर्डर, ये इशू होता है उसी दिन आपको करना है. ठीक है जी, ये ऑर्डर की डेट देख लेते हैं क्या है. 1973 तो सबने भरी होगी. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट बोलते हैं द फर्स्ट रिटर्न इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ अ गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट ऑन हिज फर्स्ट अपॉइंटमेंट टू एनी सर्विस और पोस्ट shall be as on the date of such appointment and shall be submitted within 3 months. ओके, ये तो समझ में आ गया कि विद इन 3 मंथ्स जो है आपको ये करना है. फ्रॉम द डेट एंड एवरी सच रिटर्न आफ्टर द फर्स्ट shall be submitted as on and by the date specified in clause C in respect of returns after the first return, provided that if the interval between the अगर जो आपका इंटरवल है ना आपस में, इंटरवल बिटवीन द डेट ऑफ सबमिशन ऑफ द फर्स्ट रिटर्न एंड द डेट ऑफ द सब्सिक्वेंट रिटर्न इज ड्यू टू इन लेस देन 6 months, द लेटर रिटर्न नीड नॉट बी सबमिटेड. दूसरा बोलता है द फर्स्ट रिटर्न इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ एवरी कंसर्न हु इज इन सर्विस ऑन डेट ऑफ द इशू ऑफ द ऑर्डर shall be as on 31st December 72 and specifies the 31st day of March 1973 as the date on or before such return shall be submitted. ठीक है, तो फर्स्ट रिटर्न जो है इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ हु इज इन सर्विस एज ऑन डेट, अगर मान लीजिए कोई है, specifies the 31st day of March 1973 as the date on which children shall be submitted. Further that every government servant shall submit such returns after the first at an interval of 5 years on or before 31st day of March immediately following the year to which the return relates, and such return shall be as on 31st December of May immediately. Such return will be handled as secret document. Okay. क्या माना जाएगा? दैट्स अ सीक्रेट डॉक्यूमेंट, आपका सीक्रेट डॉक्यूमेंट. प्रोविजनल रूल वन ऑफ सीसीएस कंडक्ट रूल्स. ठीक है, further that every government servant shall submit such returns after the first at an interval of 5 years on or before the 31st day of March of the year immediately following the year to which the return relates, and every such return shall be as on 31st December of the year immediately preceding the said 31st day of March. Every government servant shall submit such returns after the first पहली भरने के बाद at an interval 5 years. ठीक है, every government shall submit at such returns after the first पहली भरने के बाद at an interval of 5 years, 5 साल के बाद आपको भरना. ठीक है, interval of 5 years on or before the 31st day of March of the year immediately following the year to which the return relates, and each and every such return shall be as on the 31st December, मतलब 31st December तक भर देनी है. चलिए जी, आपको एक परफॉर्मेंस रखा है. If a government servant is a member of Hindu undivided family with proportionary rights in the property of the family, either as a karta or as a member, he should indicate one, the value of his share in such property, where it is not possible to indicate the exact value of property, approximate value. May be added wherever necessary. फॉर्म 1 है आपके पास. फॉर्म 2 दे रखा है, अगर स्टेटमेंट, ठीक है, ये आपका रिटर्न ऑफ एसेट्स एंड लायबिलिटी टू ओनर, ठीक है, वगैरह, ठीक है, एंड स्टेटमेंट ऑफ इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी ऑन फर्स्ट डिपार्टमेंट एज 31 दिसंबर, ठीक है, लैंड हाउस शॉप अदर बिल्डिंग वगैरह, ठीक है। देन फॉर्म 2 बोलता है स्टेटमेंट ऑफ लिक्विड एसेट्स, ओके, देन मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी, ओके। फॉर्म 5 है इस तरीके से, फॉर्म तो 5 फॉर्म यहाँ पर दे रखे हैं, ठीक है। इसमें कुछ बोलता है, बोलता है पेंडिंग फर्दर रिव्यू ऑफ द प्लान्स ऑफ लायबिलिटी इन दिस ऑर्डर रिलेटेड दिस सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट जो है, आप जीआईडीज पढ़ लेते हैं इसके बारे में, क्या क्या जीआईडीज है। बोलता है कैश प्राइजेस टू बी रिगार्डेड transaction in movable property, cash prizes to be regarded in movable property. He advised the Minister of Home Affairs was finished with the question whether it was necessary for a government to make a report as required under his control authority कैश प्राइज वोन। अगर आपने कोई कैश प्राइज अगर जीता है, मान लीजिए, ठीक है, कैश प्राइज अगर आपने जीता है तो उस केस में क्या करना है, वोन बाय हिज वाइफ इन अ क्रॉस, कैश प्राइज वोन बाय हिज वाइफ इन अ क्रॉसवर्ड पजल कंपटीशन। बोला दैट मिनिस्ट्री हैज नाउ एडवाइज्ड दैट विनिंग ऑफ फ्रॉम एक्सीडिंग द प्राइस एज वैल्यू regarding transaction for the said purpose, irrespective of whether the rules require such transaction to be reported or not, a matter of। यहाँ पर अमाउंट तो इन्होंने नहीं बताया इसके अंदर। Given that ministry has now advised that the winning of cash prize from competition exceeding the price clearing limit, आप टाइप लिमिट regardless regardless वेबसाइट रूल। यहाँ पर ट्रांजेक्शन अगर मैं बात करूँ इसमें, तो यहाँ पर कितनी थी, इसके बाद ये मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी 10,000 या 2 फीस से आपकी ज़्यादा, है ना, क्या कह रहे हैं। तो अगर हम बात करें मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी, ये कहता है आपका 2 मंथ की बेसिक पे बोलता है बस ये। तो अपने नेक्स्ट इज रिपोर्ट ऑफ conclusion of a transaction in immovable property, okay, should be made forthwith in case where prior permission to purchase such property was obtained and the amount involved was not indicated. Report of conclusion of transaction, okay. Yeah, point was whether it necessary for government to once he has got permission to government to purchase of the housing property, report the actual transaction of it, when the bill of transaction amount involved, the report is not, but if the fund is at the time of the report of the property should of course trigger in यहाँ पर देखिए, report of transaction, conclusion of a transaction in immovable property should be made forthwith in cases where prior permission to purchase was obtained and the amount involved was not indicated, ठीक है। तो बोलता है point was whether it is necessary for a government servant once he has got permission of the to purchase of immovable property, okay, to report the actual acquisition of it immediately on the first transaction specify the detail of transaction, the amount involved further report is not necessary। अगर अमाउंट दे दिया तो, बट इफ सच डिटेल्स आर नॉट फर्निश्ड, the first sanction specifies the details of the transaction and amount involved, then the further report is not necessary, ठीक है। बट कहता है बट इफ सच डिटेल्स आर नॉट फर्निश्ड at the time of sanction, a further report giving full details should be made, ठीक है। यहाँ तो आ गया समझ में। दूसरा बोलता है मिसलेनियस में बोलता है ऑन अकाउंट ऑफ पेमेंट टू कोऑपरेटिव हाउस बिल्डिंग सोसाइटी फॉर परचेज डेवलपमेंट एटसेट्रा ऑफ लैंड आर टू बी ट्रीटेड एज ट्रांजैक्शन कंसर्निंग मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी। ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। ऑन अकाउंट ऑफ पेमेंट टू कोऑपरेटिव हाउस बिल्डिंग सोसाइटी जो दिन फॉर परचेज या डेवलपमेंट ऑफ लैंड आर टू बी ट्रीटेड एज ट्रांजैक्शंस अंडर ट्रांजेक्शन कंसर्निंग मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी की बात कर रहा है, इंपॉर्टेंट बात। All purchases made at the same time in the same place, shop, etc., and the charge for the same bill should be treated as one transaction for the purpose, and it should be as one transaction for the purpose. ठीक है, whether or not they read the same item. On account of payment to cooperative house, the cooperative house building societies होते हैं ना, for purchase of this land are to be treated as transaction concerning movable properties. But the form of report standardized for cases involving purchase of land, construction of building, and addition, alterations to an existing number. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? Form of report standardized for cases involving purchase of land, construction of building, and addition, alteration to an existing building. तो उसको ना form of report देनी है आपको, किस तरीके से क्या बात करते हैं. It is explained that the construction of a house amounted to acquisition of immovable property for which the previous knowledge or sanction, as the case may be of the prescribed, was acquired under Rule 18 of the Disconduct Rules. A question has been raised whether the purchase of a movable property required for construction of the house comes. Question raised whether the purchase of movable required for the construction of the house comes within the scope of this. Okay, report form of report standard for casing involving purchase of land, construction of building, additional investment. ठीक है, इस केस में क्या कहता है आपकी कंस्ट्रक्शन मटेरियल जो भी हम ले रहे हैं उसके लिए भी कुछ बताना है क्या? Which requires that a report of such transaction shall forthwith be sent to the prescribed authority. Okay, requires that it would obviously be cumbersome and inconvenient if such reports have to be made in respect of purchases made in connection with building of the house. At the same time, the purpose of the rule would be defeated if a check is not kept on such purchases merely because permission has been given for the building of the house just before the construction begins. It has therefore been decided that whenever the government servant wishes to build a house, the following process should be followed. Okay? So whenever government wishes to build a house, whenever a government wishes to build a house, the following procedure need to follow. Before starting construction of the house, he should report or seek permission as the case may be, and after completion, he should report to the prescribed authority. ठीक है, क्या करना है अपना? Before starting construction of the house, he should report or seek permission. Permission लेनी है as the case may be, and after completion of the house, he should report to the prescribed authority. It has been further decided that the details in the proforma prescribed should be furnished, and the details in the proforma prescribed should be furnished whenever it is possible to do so. Where, however, it is not possible to furnish the details, the government servant concerned should mention the area covered, and the details in the proforma should prescribe furnished where it is, however, it is not possible to furnish where it is not possible to furnish these details. The government servant concerned should mention, and he should mention the covered area on which the building is proposed to be erected and the estimated cost of the building. Okay. In cases where the expenditure to be incurred on repairs or minor construction in respect of any movable property belonging to a government is estimated to exceed 10,000 sanction necessary, अगर मान लीजिए 10,000 रुपये से ऊपर जाता है तो फिर जो है, अगर आपका जो भी रिपेयर या माइनर कंस्ट्रक्शन जो है, ठीक है, इफ दैट इज एक्सीड ₹10,000 तो सैंक्शन ऑफ दी, तो सैंक्शन जो है, sanction of the prescribed authority is necessary, and the provisions of such memorandum mentioned will also apply to such cases. It has been decided that the forms in question should also include a column to indicate a source of finance. According to supervision of this form, forms may enclose may be used. Okay? Source of income भी आपको बताना है, आपका source of income. Bidding by government servants prohibited where auctions are arranged by their own officers. ठीक है, वो प्रोहिबिट कर रहा है पढ़ने से. क्वेश्चन हैज बीन raised whether a specific provision should be added to a central government conduct rules regarding participation by government in auction of property owned. अच्छा, in auctions of property owned or confiscated by the government, even if the transaction is in fact free of any element or undue, even if the transaction is in fact free of any element of undue influence or dishonesty, the suspicion that all is not above board, is bound to arise in cases where property sold at government auctions purchased by government servant, particularly by buyers belonging to the same ministry as one by under or whose orders or sanctions contain. While therefore it may not be necessary to frame a specific conduct rules for this purpose, it is obviously undesirable. Yeah, तो ये undesirable on the for the government to bid on auction. Any government servant who does so would be regarded as indulging in conduct of अगर कोई भी है अगर regarded as who does so they will be regarded as indulging in conduct unbecoming of a government servant within the meaning of conduct rules. ठीक है. No regular and continuous scrutiny necessary in case of returns of immovable property. No regular or continuous scrutiny necessary in case of returns of immovable property. Immovable की बात कर रहा है, ठीक है. Submitted by the officer of the Central Secretariat Service and said it has now been decided that in so far as the Central Secretariat Service and the CS Steno services are concerned, there need be no regular and continuous scrutiny of the property returns submitted by the officers of these services, and that the returns need be scrutinized only if कब करनी है need जो है needs return to be scrutinized only if and when there is a ground for suspicion in any particular case. Okay? The ministry etc. need not therefore undertake any regular scrutiny of these returns when submitted by the officer in the return, as and when they are received from the officer and be passed to the authority which maintains the character role of the. सीधा इनको पास भेज दीजिए. May be passed to the authority which maintain the character roles of the officer. As the character roles of officers of the selection grade and grade 1 and grade 1 to grade 3 of the same, and also those of officers of grade 1 of the same stenographer are maintained by establishment officer of the Government of India, Ministry of Home. The returns of immovable property of these officers should on receipt from the officer be directly transmitted to establishment officer for report. ठीक है. आगे करते हैं. 2 sets of sanctions required for sale of car purchased on an advance from the Government of India. A question has been raised whether the sanction of the Competent Authority under Paragraph 256 of the General Financial Rule for the sale of car or any other conveyance purchased for the sale of car or any other conveyance purchased with advance from government before repayment of the advance together with interest can be deemed to carry with it the permission of the Competent Authority and rule this. वो कहता है कि अगर कोई आप कार लेते हैं या फिर कोई भी कन्वेंस परचेज करते हैं, अपनी कार बेचते हैं या कोई भी अदर कन्वेंस परचेज करते हैं विद एडवांस फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट, आपने गवर्नमेंट से एडवांस ले लिया आपने, ठीक है, सेल ऑफ अ कार, ठीक है, बिफोर रीपेमेंट, और आपने अभी उसकी एडवांस की जो है रीपेमेंट नहीं की है, टुगेदर विद इंटरेस्ट, उसका इंटरेस्ट जो है कैन बी डीम टू कैरी, कैन दैट बी डीम टू कैरी विद इट द परमिशन ऑफ कंपनी अथॉरिटी. The matter has been considered by this ministry in consultation with CAG. Since the object of according sanctions under the 2 sets of rules are quite different, it has been decided that separate sanctions under the GFR and under the conduct rule should be taken of by government when the sale of the conveyance is made, otherwise then through a regular or reputed dealer or agent. In all cases, whether the sanction authorities under the 2 sets of rules are the same or different, in order to obtain the required sanction, the government servant will be well advised to obtain first the sanction order, be advised to first the sanction under the GFR, the General Financial Rules, as the stage he will not be required to furnish details of the prospective purchase or sale purchase. ठीक है, sale price, he will not be required to furnish details of the prospective purchaser or sale price, etc., which would be required before the permission the conduct is given. After obtaining this sanction, he may settle the details with the intending purchaser and apply for permission. The conduct rule stating clearly that the necessary sanction under the GFR rules had been obtained. The authorizing issuing sanction under the GFR should specify in the sanction itself that the actual car sale of car, if made otherwise then through a reputed or regular dealer agent, would be subject to the condition that government servant also obtains the prior sanction of the government authority under the conduct rules for the sale of his car, so that this requirement is not overlooked by the government servant. अब पढ़िएगा यहाँ पर ये क्या कहना चाह रहे हैं. दैट इज 2 सेट ऑफ सैंक्शंस, सेट ऑफ मतलब 2 सेट ऑफ परमिशन, एक तरीके से 2 सेट ऑफ सैंक्शन जो है परमिशन रिक्वायर्ड होगी फॉर सेल ऑफ अ कार. अगर आप कोई कार खरीदते हैं परचेज ऑन एन एडवांस फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, अगर आपका गवर्नमेंट से कोई एडवांस चल रहा है तो सेल ऑफ अ कार परचेज ऑन एडवांस फ्रॉम अ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, तो आपको टू टू दो सैंक्शन चाहिए होंगे। तो दो सैंक्शंस क्या क्या हैं देख लीजिए। अगर आप फॉर द सेल ऑफ अ कार and or other conveyance purchased with advance from government, ठीक है, before repayment of advance together with interest can be deemed to be carried with the permission of the communal authority. The matter has been considered by this department and considered since the object of according sanction with under the two sets of rules are quite different. It has been decided that separate sanctions, क्या इसके लिए आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा, separate sanctions under the GFR and under the conduct rules should be taken when the sale of the equipment is made otherwise than through a regular or reputed dealer or agent. देखिए, in all cases where the sanctioning authority under the two sets of rules are same or different in order to obtain, अच्छा, two sets of rules are same, या तो वो सेम है डिफरेंट है, कुछ भी कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, तो आपकी सैंक्शनिंग अथॉरिटी है ना, अंडर द टू सेट्स ऑफ रूल्स आर सेम, या तो सेम है या फिर डिफरेंट है, इन ऑर्डर टू ऑब्टेन द रिक्वायर्ड सैंक्शन एक्सपीडियंटली the government will be well advised to obtain first the sanction under the GFR, as at that stage he will not be required to furnish details of prospective purchasers, sale price, etc. ठीक है, which would be required before the permission under the conduct rule is given. Will not be required to furnish the details of prospective purchaser, ठीक है, which would be required before, कब को चाहिए होगी, which would be required before the permission under the conduct rules is given. After obtaining this sanction, he may settle the details with the intending purchaser and apply for permission under the conduct rules, stating clearly that the necessary sanction has been obtained. Then should specify the sanction itself that the actual sale of car, if made otherwise than through a reputed center, would be subject to the condition that government servant also obtains the prior sanction of the company under the conduct. Okay. Important है यार कि after obtaining this sanction, GFRA केस में ले लिया, अब after obtaining this sanction he may settle the detail with the intending purchaser and apply for permission. The conduct rules stating clearly that the necessary sanction जो है under the GFR has already been obtained. The authority issuing sanction under the GFR specify in sanction itself that the actual sale of car, if made, actual sale of जो car है ना उनकी, if made otherwise than through a repeated or regular, would be subject to the condition that the government servant also obtains the prior sanction of the competent authority. And अगला बोलता है आपका सबमिशन ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी डिटेल स्पेशली इन रिगार्ड टू ट्रांजैक्शन एंड एंटर्ड इनटू बाय मेंबर्स ऑफ फैमिली। देखिए, certain difficulties are being experienced by authorities in respect of interpreting rule 18 of the CCS relating to transaction of movable and immovable property and submission of property returns, especially in regard to transaction entered into by the members of the family of a government. So, to ensure that governments do not indulge in benami transaction or ostensible transfer or an acquisition of security assets legally earned, and at the same time to ensure that unnecessary restraint is not imposed on the government or the dependent or harassment caused to them. The following executive instructions, कुछ executive instructions के बारे में क्या है, all transaction both of immovable and movable property made out of funds of the government servant, irrespective of the person in whose name the transaction is made, should be governed strictly by rule under 18. ठीक है, all transaction, कोई भी transaction हो, तो all transaction both कहाँ कहाँ पर, मूवेबल और मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी मेड आउट ऑफ फंड्स, के फंड से, फंड्स ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट, ठीक है, इररेस्पेक्टिव ऑफ द पर्सन, इररेस्पेक्टिव ऑफ द पर्सन इन हुज नेम द ट्रांजैक्शन इज मेड, मतलब अगर उनके फंड से ली गई है ना, गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट के फंड से ली गई है, तो इररेस्पेक्टिव ऑफ द पर्सन इन हुज नेम द ट्रांजैक्शन इज मेड शुड बी गवर्नड स्ट्रिक्टली अंडर रूल 18 के अंडर में ये आएगा ऑटोमेटिक। ठीक है, अगर उनका फंड यूज हुआ है तो। ट्रांजैक्शन इन इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी इन ऑल केसेस द रनर शुड बी विद द प्रीवियस नॉलेज ऑफ द प्रिस्क्राइब अथॉरिटी। इमूवेबल में ले रहे हैं अगर आप, तो प्रीवियस नॉलेज बोलता है, प्रीवियस नॉलेज ऑफ द प्रिस्क्राइब अथॉरिटी। अगर मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी इन केस फुल रिपोर्ट ऑफ द अथॉरिटी इमीडिएटली आफ्टर कंप्लीशन, इमीडिएटली ऑल केसेस अ फुल रिपोर्ट टू द प्रिस्क्राइब अथॉरिटी आफ्टर कंप्लीशन। transaction. Cases falling under subparagraph 4 below will not be governed by these. Falling under sub, subparagraph 4. Okay. Was the transaction entered into by the spouse or any other member of the family of government out of his or her funds, including sprees and gifts, inheritance, as distinct from the funds of the government itself in his or her own name or in his or her own right, would not attack the provision of the Rule 2 and 3 of Rule 18. Rule 2 और नहीं होगा, देख that no government servant shall accept with the previous knowledge of the required disposal any immovable property or गवर्नमेंट से मूव विद इन 1 मंथ नहीं आपको अगर तो बोलता है कोई भी ट्रांजेक्शन अगर होती है ना entered into spouse or any other member of the family आउट इज ओन फंड्स यूज करते हैं मान लीजिए इंक्लूडिंग स्त्री धन हो गया गिफ्ट्स हो गया एजुकेशन फ्रॉम द फंड ओन नेम और इन हिज और हर ओन राइट तो इससे क्या होगा दिस वुड नॉट अट्रैक्ट द प्रोविजंस ये नहीं है a government servant who transfers any immovable or movable property exceeding the prescribed monetary limit in value to a member of his family should report or obtain sanction of the prison in accordance with the rule. अगर मान लीजिए कोई भी गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट है वो ट्रांसफर करता है अपना ये ठीक है who transfers any immovable property transfers any immovable property को ट्रांसफर कर देता है और movable property exceeding the prescribed limit exceeding the prescribed monetary limit ठीक है इस केस में it should obtain sanction obtain sanction of the prescribed authority. यहाँ पर अगर मैं बात करूँ लिमिट लिमिट की बार बार बात हो रही है लिमिट हमें कितना समझ में आ रहा है ऑल द वैल्यू ऑफ आइटम मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी वर्थ रुपीज लेस देन 10,000 में भी अच्छा है क्या यहाँ पर एक तो यहाँ हुई थी कि आपको दो वो ना दो वाली that exceeds 2 months basic pay फिर ये 10,000 क्या है वैल्यू ऑफ आइटम ऑफ मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी वर्थ ठीक है चलिए तो समझ में आ गया आपको तो लिमिट तो यही है बेसिक लिमिट यही है कि दो इससे लिमिट नहीं होनी चाहिए ट्रांजेक्शन इज मेंबर्स ऑफ हिंदू एंड जॉइंट फैमिली डू नॉट रिक्वायर गवर्नमेंट प्रायर परमिशन देखिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है आपका ट्रांजेक्शन एज मेंबर्स ऑफ अगर आप HUF से हिंदू अनडिवाइडेड जॉइंट फैमिली है डू नॉट रिक्वायर गवर्नमेंट्स प्रायर परमिशन सच केसेस ट्रांजेक्शन इन इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी शुड बी इंक्लूडेड इन द एनुअल प्रॉपर्टी एंड रिटर्न्स ठीक है क्या है ट्रांजेक्शन क्या होगा ट्रांजेक्शन जो है इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी के अंदर जो भी ट्रांजेक्शन है ना दैट शुड बी इंक्लूडेड एनुअल रिपोर्ट में आपने प्रॉपर्टी रिटर्न में अंदर डालना है एंड दोज इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी should be reported to the prescribed authority immediately after completion or immediately after the one comes to know of them और ये जो मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी की बात करें it should be reported immediately after so government servant is unable to give any idea of his share of property full property in the above instructions may be implemented liberally in order to avoid a detailed probe into the private affairs of the government servant or their dependents, but cases in which suspicion exists should be investigated with firmness and speed. ठीक है cases related to group A officers of CSS may also be dealt with administrative ministry department ठीक है ये बोलता है powers were delegated to administrative ministries departments to deal with certain matters related to the application of CCS conduct rules in respect of officers of the services controlled by Ministry of Home Affairs. It has now been decided that the cases related to acquisition and disposal of immovable property by group of officers of CSS, which are under the existing instruction required to be referred to this ministry, may be dealt by with and finally decided by administration department. The intention line of the CCS conduct rules down that no transaction related to no property shall be entered into by officers those rules except with the provision of the transaction property be entered on a bona fide purpose. Okay. Entered into for bona fide purposes. The acquisition sale of property in question is at fair prevailing market price and does not involve any element of profiteering or speculation. there is no reasonable ground to hold that the transaction is the result of the exercise of any undue official by the officer. In return for any official favors conferred or likely to be conferred, and there is nothing otherwise objection. Because the intention implying the provision of the tools like no transaction, no transaction related to property can be entered into by the officers with an respect to these rules, these rules except with the previous knowledge of the prescribed authority to ensure that the transaction proposal enter a bona fide purpose to for है bona fide purposes के लिए general reason है acquisition property in question is that fair or if एकदम fair or prevailing prices पे है and does not involve any profit. Yes, there is no reasonable ground to hold the transaction the result of so no reasonable ground to hold that the transaction is in question is the result of the exercise of any influence. There is nothing otherwise objectionable. Okay? Finance department may therefore deal with references related to transaction in respect of immovable property entered into or proposed to be entered into Group A officers or the sales serving under them in the light of above guiding principles. So the Ministry Department again annual returns of immovable property owned by officers of the selection grade and grade 1 to grade 3 of the center. However, at present continue to the Ministry of regarding bank deposit and investment in saving and plan service unit trust fixed deposit etc. Rule 18(3) बोलता है आपका provider government servant who enters into a transaction concerning any property exceeding the prescribed limit and value whether by way of purchase, sale or otherwise shall forthwith report whether transaction any small savings schemes and bank accounts by intimation. It's clarified that while fixed deposit जो है while what is in bank or deposit is a saving bank account made by government from out of his salary or accumulated savings would not come to him. तो यहाँ पे कहता है while fixed deposit in bank or deposit in bank account made by a government would not come to would be necessary for the officer to support the government service with purchase of postal yeah, would not come within the 13(2). सही है bank or deposit saving bank की accumulated saving जो भी आपके however it would be necessary for the government of हो जाएगा purchase of postal saving certificates exceeding the prescribed in value from such accumulated savings or deposit in banks as the value in the category of come in the insurance policy, shared securities and debentures mentioned. Purchase of postal or national savings time should therefore be reported. Cashment of such certificates, however, is not reported as consequence of the initial however, it is not required not to report. Okay. It will not yeah. It has been decided that current account, saving bank account, and deposit with banks need not be reported to the bank. This is important. कि जो भी आपका current account है, saving bank account है, fixed deposits है ना with bank need to be reported by the government. 13(3) covered by Rule 18(1)(b), and the form and the interval. Question was also raised whether purchase of national saving plans had been in interest which were in investment in unspeculative nature involving capital, no element of hazard need all be reported to the investment. It has been held that the purchase of national saving plan held that the purchase of national saving plan certificates of exceeding on this it reported to the concern such certificates are securities in the authorities from whom valuation report may be accepted. Authorities from whom valuation report may be accepted. in accordance with the instruction, the government servant is required to submit house. Yeah. Okay. Valuation bill. Introduction of house of important by a firm of civil engineers. The doubts are expressed whether the evaluation bill could be accepted. Engineers for building construction for building construction buildings cost not exceed town area overseas. Even if the government servant who has constructed a house is himself government servant qualified engineer were qualified engineer engineering issued by engineers with servant within the valuation certified engineer. ठीक है तो हमने यही पढ़ा कि किस किस काम यहाँ पर एक्सेप्ट कर सकते हैं. Charge of corruption reasonably arises where a government servant is unable to satisfactorily account for his asset immovable and immovable. Charge of corruption reasonably arises where a government servant is unable to satisfactorily account for his assets immovable or immovable. Okay. So the presence of corruption fairly and reasonably arises against an officer cannot account for large as which he could not possibly have saved from his known source of income. Principle has the this principle has received statute recognition 53 of the Corruption Prevention of Corruption Act 1949 and its application to Department inquiry against an officer charged with corruption could not therefore be unjust and unequitable. In fact, बोला गया है Minister of Finance request the puggery charged by government servant in renting their houses and flats. Puggery charged by government servant in renting their houses and flag that amount of PKI recommendation that to buy or sell property much greater than those recorded in deeds has become a common method of a convenient method of transaction black money. If in some manner some special corporation set up this purpose can be empowered to step in, acquire such property of value, and even at a small premium when it is considered that the properties have been deliberately undervalued, like a blow against the habit of charging puggery or premium practices. Though the recommendation number 30 contained in this profession to buy and sell property that process much greater than was recorded in the convenience deed have become a common method of greater than those reported in the deed में कुछ कम अमाउंट करते हैं वैसे ठीक है some manner the special corporation set up for the purpose can be empowered to step in and acquire such at the stated value or even at a small premium, then it is considered that the property has been deliberately undervalued. Will strike a blow against client. Can be empowered to step higher at the state, then at a the property has been deliberately undervalued. But this recommendation has been considered carefully in the light of the comments and yes, changes made in the Income Tax Act 1960 essentially achieve the purpose of part of the government are, however, advised on legal and constitutional that it will not be possible part of the regarding the setting up of a corporation. Okay. Then transaction between two government servants are not exempted. दो गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट के बीच में ट्रांजैक्शन जो है क्या वो एग्जेम्प्टेड है कह रहा वो एग्जेम्प्टेड नहीं है a question was raised whether consider the delay that sometimes take place in giving permission to a government servant for the acquisition of movable property and consent and consequent risk of transaction falling through transaction in movable property at best between two gazetted officers for that matter between any two government servant irrespective whether they are gazetted or non-gazetted who are not connected with each other in their official capacity should not be exempted from the necessary they should not be exempted from the of obtaining prior permission prescribed by the prescribed authority. The matter has been considered and it held that it is appropriate to is exception in the case of any particular kind of transaction to the exclusion of others from the operations related to transaction between two governments and do not acquire any character just because these are transaction between governments. It cannot be said that transaction between officers not with each other in their office capacity are in any way different from transaction between governments and private party who have no connection. Moreover, the difficulty, if any, in keeping the offer alive till a sanction is obtained. Moreover, the difficulty, if any, the difficulty, if any, in keeping the offer alive till a sanction is obtained is common to all transactions. Third, the person is another party and is not speaking. The remedy therefore lies in the required sanction where there is prima facie. Sometimes जो है delay वो कह रहे हैं considering whether delay that sometimes take place in giving permission to government servant for the execution of this falling through कोई exemption फिर बोलते हैं head of department declared as prescribed authority for group officers थोड़ी जो है आपके they are declared as the head of department जो है they are declared as prescribed authority for group officers थोड़ी है आपकी क्या बोलता है the central government hereby directs that the power exercisable by it and the control of CAG जो है या subject to any general or special instruction by the central of the head of department serving under the control in relation to head of department themselves the said powers shall continue by the central government or the in relation to the head of department themselves but in relation to head of department मान लीजिए head of department themselves जो है the said powers shall continue to be exercised by the central government when it is exercised by the central government or the AG. All cases of sanction accorded by the head of department shall be reported to the central government or the CA. Okay. The auditor development. Here no change take place during the year in the holdings. The annual report may simply endorse the words no change. Same. ठीक है, I think तो पढ़ ही लेते हैं. At the end of the class, every member of the group is written in such form as given that we have of all immovable property owned by donated by him or held by him only or more is in the name would indicate every year shall all the proposed by him whether it would be year and end acquisition disposal were affected during the year to which then for the office change in the return and no change noted in the return that consultant by disposal or resulting be necessary of the property changes. They have further advisory in case there are no change or same as last year. But the head of department delegated with powers to deal with cases should not refer them to directorate. The reference in matter DGP letter number this and to say that in spite of the delegation of head of department in the Home Affairs referred to therein that have continued to be referred to this department, this office. Since the head of circles etc., who are declared as HOD and the to have been delegated the power to deal with cases of group members serving under their control, they should no longer be referred to this office for the called by head of circles in their capacity or head of for the return of assets and liability. अभी हम 18 नंबर पर हैं इसको देख लेते हैं आज एक बार रीडिंग देनी है यार हमारी जो GID है अगर हमने एक बार रीडिंग भी दे लिया ना इनको तो काफ़ी कुछ सोल्व हो जाएगा वैसे ना तो रीडिंग बहुत फास्ट करनी है यार ये देख लेते हैं क्या क्या है लगता है कि जो चीज़ हमें अगर समझ में आ रही है तो उसमें ज़रूरत नहीं है अगर आप पढ़ने से समझ पा रहे हैं तो कोई The head of department delegated the powers to deal with cases should not refer to them to directorate. ठीक है जी फिर बोलता है return of assets and liability. Under 18 note that every government servant shall on his first appointment to any service or post and thereafter at such intervals may be specified by the government submit a return of his asset liability in such form as the department as prescribed by the government giving the full as in that with the forms in which the said periodically have been notified in the return of assets. The return of assets and liability in the prescribed form is required to be submitted by only Group A and Group B and Group C officers, excepting those to whom the provisions of several 1 to 3 and 15 do not apply by virtue of the second provision of several. The government servant in Group D services and posts are not required to submit the returns. Uh, as regard the government servant in Group C services, the head of the department may recommend the ministry concerned for the exclusion of any specific category for such employees from the requirement of furnishing the return in pursuance of this if the nature of the work by the exemption. Okay, ministry department to whom the recommendation is made would take a decision their own this with the concurrence of the cabinet secretary department of personnel with regard to such employee working. A decision could similarly be taken in consideration of the department of personnel. Okay, such working in ministry department itself, a decision could be taken with the अच्छा that decision made with the department cabinet secretary or department of personnel in regard to such employees working in a ministry department itself decision by the department of the first return of the return on the prescribed forms will be on 31st December. Important who are already in service and should be submitted by 31st March 1973, even if they have already submitted the return of property for the year under the earlier or the subsequent returns the subsequent returns जो है ना वो will be as on 31st June regard person to post after the date of appointment in 3 months of their appointment. The second is submitted by them as on crucial dates for those who are already in service. Take two. Return will be submitted by the government servant to the prescribed authority through the administration wing. यार बहुत बहुत ज़्यादा खींच रखा है GIDs में ना. समटाइम्स वी फील कि यार अगर पढ़ने से आ रहा है ना तो यार छोड़ना पड़ेगा ये चीज़ें ना सीरियसली छोड़ना पड़ेगा यार मुझे भी लग रहा है अब तो कि छोड़ना पड़ेगा क्योंकि बहुत सारा पढ़ना है और इस तरीके से यार कंप्लीट नहीं कर पाएंगे ऐसा कोई बुराई नहीं है मुझे लगता है फिर हेडिंग हेडिंग दे के चलते हैं कंटिन्यू करते हैं यार ठीक है मुझे पता नहीं ये स्टेप गलत है या सही है क्या है तो मुझे खुद नहीं आ रहा समझ में इस टाइम पे कि क्या करना चाहिए मतलब एक एक वर्ड पढ़ना चाहिए, वर्ड बाय वर्ड चलना चाहिए, या फिर अगर हमें हेडिंग पढ़ने समझ में आ रहा है ये क्या कह रहा है तो उसको बस आगे कर देना चाहिए। हो प्रभु। बोलते हैं द रिटर्न्स विल बी सबमिटेड बाय द गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट टू द प्रिस्क्राइब्ड अथॉरिटी थ्रू द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन विंग ऑफ द मिनिस्ट्री डिपार्टमेंट office in which the government servant is for the time being serving. On receipt of the return, it would be scrutinized with reference to sanctions, reports, etc., already on record and thereafter recorded with such remarks as may be necessary in the light of scrutiny of vigilance officer. The will be submitted by the government servant to the prescribed authority through the administration wing of the in which the government servant when serving on receipt of return scrutinized with reference to sanction reports, etc., already on record and thereafter forwarded with some remarks as may be necessary in the light of scrutiny of vigilance डिपार्टमेंट ऑब्लिक ऑफिस टू द प्रेसिडेंट अथॉरिटी रिसीट ऑफ द रिटर्न। मुझे लगता है यार छोड़ना पड़ेगा यार। ठीक है, मीनिंग ऑफ द टर्म लीज, बस लीज का मीनिंग देख लेते हैं क्या है, जो जो समझ में नहीं आ रहा वही पढ़ेंगे, बस बाकी छोड़ देंगे यार। ठीक है ओके। The responsibility to prescribe whether to ensure that the returns in respect of all these observations by due date are properly stored only. Okay. Meaning of the term lease according to the notification number this clause 1D the written has been expanded to form mentioned as television sets as well among the categories of movable property mentioned there. So this because the term lease would mean except where it is obtained from or granted to person having official dealings. Probability for the term lease would mean except where lease का मतलब है यहाँ पर except where it has been obtained from or granted to a person having official dealings with the government servant a lease of immovable property from year to year or any term exceeding 1 year. ठीक है, thus where the leasee or the lessor is the person having official dealings with the government term would apply. It would include an agreement giving rise to relation of tenant price of the device of the reality for designated period of time agreement or mode of is related to transaction in India which has been related to transaction. The Transfer of Property Act 1992 of leases of immovable property lease यहाँ पर बताया इन्होंने a lease of immovable property. ठीक है, the transfer of a right to enjoy such property made for a certain time express. ठीक है ठीक है, और in consideration of a price paid or promise of money share of crops value rendered periodically. ठीक है, lesser rent when the transfer is called the lesser transfer, the transferring called the leasing. The price is called the premium and the money share they are called the rent. Report and returns of movable immovable and report and returns of the All right, now we move to next one. It says report and returns on mobile immobile contracts. Okay. Under the provision of 18 rule of the 600 rules, every government servant is required on his first appointment to any service submit a return of his asset liability in the 5 forms prescribed. Again, under Rule 2, every government servant belonging to any service or holding any post is required to submit a report of the center. The purpose of this provision is to ensure that the immovable properties acquired by the government servant after joining the government servant are within the same known to the government, and that the acquisition of properties after his or her joining the government service not only after the due intimation permission is required in the government, but also from the that the information of such acquisition is held and properly monitored by the respective officer. It is known that the annual immovable property returns submitted by the employees are neither verified. Okay, they are annual immovable property. Na, they are neither verified nor kept track of uh, to know whether these property acquired are disproportionate. To know sources of income and whether the return reflects the true nature of his items has held in records of respondent are accordingly requested to impress on all categories authority to take prompt action ensuring the return are strictly followed in receiving the insurance. Okay. Take prompt action ensuring the conduct rules are strictly followed in receiving and procuring of property. And actions as appropriate under the relevant rules is taken properly for purchasing those found violating the conduct disorderly to the known sources. Appropriate authorities not to sanction acceptance of substantial amounts as advance rent if it is in violation of the concerned states act. So the appropriate authorities not to sanction acceptance of substantial amount as advance rent if it is in violation of the concerned states act. Okay? So the survey has revealed that there is a fairly widespread practice among government servants to accept substantial amount as government servant they accept the substantial amount as advance rent from the prospective tenants, even in cases not covered by the regular agreement entered into and the Delhi Rent Control Act. ठीक है और इस तरीके से so no person shall in consideration of the grant renewal or continuation of a tenancy and except with the permission previous except with the previous permission of the controller claim or receive the payment of any sum exceeding 1 month rent of such premises as rented in advance. Nothing in this section shall apply to any payment made under for the purpose of financing the construction of the whole or part of any premises in the land belonging to or taken on lease by the landlord. If one of the conditions of the agreement is that the landlord is to let that person the whole or part of the premises when completed for the use of that person of the family, provided that such payment does not exceed the amount of agreed rent for a period of 5 years for the whole of India. Then nothing in this sense shall apply to any person. Okay? Any payment made under an agreement or any person to a landlord for the purpose of financing the construction. Then nothing जो है shall apply. Financing or whole part of any premises on the land belonging to or taken on lease. Then if one of the conditions of the agreement is that the landlord is to let to the person the whole part of the premises when completed for the use of that person or any member of his family, provided that such payment does not exceed the amount agreed of rent for a period of 5 years. Okay, when a government servant lets out the premises to a tenant, it obviously constitutes a transaction in immovable property, which entirely provides that no government servant shall accept with the previous knowledge that no government servant shall with the present knowledge of the prescribed authority acquire or dispose of any movable property by lease, mortgage, etc. Such a government servant is required to obtain the previous sanction. With the person having official dealings with the government servant. Yeah. Required to obtain previous transaction having official dealing with the government servant. Okay. The appropriate authority should refrain from sanctioning acceptance of corruption amounts as advance rent if this is to propose violation of Delhi Rent Control Act. For this purpose, if necessary, the concerned authorities should ask for production of lease agreement and examine with the view of testing this. The inclusion of a column in the CR format of Group A and Group B officer regarding annual returns. ठीक है तो कर दिया तो ठीक है इसमें क्या मतलब इतना ठीक है Every government citizen holding a Group A or Group B was required to submit a property return in the prescribed format in every calendar by 31st January of the next. ये इंपॉर्टेंट है यार, बाई 31st January द नेक्स्ट ईयर, ठीक है। ये इंपॉर्टेंट है यहाँ पर 31st January का तो है यार। The need for obtaining those returns regularly and in time and making a careful managed scrutiny. Creditors have noticed that the member property returns are not submitted in time as required under the question enforcing the requirement of time submission of the return has been considered in China economy is group right. ठीक है, मिनिस्टर फाइनेंस ट्रस्ट, ठीक है, ये हो गया। अब बोलता है इंक्लूसिव, बोलता है अंडर सब रूल 3 ऑफ द 15 pieces contribution of time and that every member of class 1 class 2 services shall on first appointment to government service and thereafter at intervals of 12 months submit a return of immovable property on required or inherited by him or held by him on lease or mortgage either in his name or in the name of a member of his family or in the name of the person ठीक है, within a month of their appointment. The initial return should show the position of the date and then the person in service. The return should be treated as secret and the return shall be treated as secret and shall prosecution may be considered neglected by captain custody of the authority which maintains the character of the now rule this. The question has been raised as to which authority in government should appropriately exercise the function of the prescribed authority as mentioned in the explanation. Respect of class 1 man post on under one ministry, the ministry with the post or service of the member should act as a prescribed authority in connection. बोलता है the question has been raised as to which authority government should appropriately exercise the functions of the prescribed authority mentioned in respect one of in respect of class 1 group officer intended to man and posts more than one ministry, the post of service 170 the member should act as a prescribed authority. The function of the prescribed authority would be decided by the ministry which controls the service in question. Instance of the service of this representative man post and development ministries. The class 1 officer of this service, therefore, the prescribed authority this would be Ministry of Home Affairs. In the case of class 2, class 3, or class 3, however, the function of prescribed authority would be decided by the head of the department or head of office. Okay. That will be not good function. Government servant therefore report or seek the permission for comment. Then both the punitive action for failure to submit annual immovable property return in time. So, okay. Okay, then in accordance with the provision of clause 3 of rule number 2 in this, every government servant holding a group A or group B post is required to submit an annual giving full particulars regarding the immovable property inherited by him on required lease, mortgage, either in his name or कोई भी, ठीक है। that such report shall be in the January, in the month of January every year. The form used for this purpose has prescribed the need for when these regular has been noted written on time to ensure that on them that failure in the requirement can form good and sufficient for अगर कोई नहीं करता है impressed upon them that failure of the part of the government servant to comply with the requirement of the rule can sufficient for taken who fail to submit clarification regarding chit fund life insurance policy fixed deposit in bank तो क्या कहता है whether a government servant require permission for joining chit funds, whether a government servant court or seek prior permission, whether government servant should obtain permission the subscription which a government servant gives a chit fund would be a transaction in movable property, ठीक है। if a monthly and chit fund exceeds the monetary limit होता है, ये कर सकते हैं आप इसके अंदर यहाँ पर चिट फंड को क्लिक कर लीजिए। देन बोलता है इफ द मंथली और एनुअल सब्सक्रिप्शन जो है ना द चिट फंड कीप्स द मॉनेटरी लिमिट प्रिस्क्राइब्ड इन 18(3) then the government servant जो है has to report it to the prescribed authority. And the government servant has to report to the prescribed authority, and then he has under the aforesaid rule, previous sanction of the would be necessary only with dealings. ठीक है, और साथ में लिख रखा है that previous sanction of the government would be necessary only the government servant or dealing. The amount that may receive from the fund can be classified receiving the amount of sum total of the contribution payable to all subscribers and for any one installment less than the discount or commission payable to the chit fund by bid before the expiry of the period of previous receiving the amount at the time of maturity. As regards above, since the amount received by a subscriber from the chit fund by bid would be more than the amount subscribed by him, and the difference will have to be made good by him by future subscription to the total period of chit fund. The amount received would amount to loan, you know, in chit fund. Since the chit fund company is not a banking company, banking are not therefore applicable to such a company. The loan received loan may be regular under tool as regards to above. If the amount received from the business has to report to the authority, ठीक है, ठीक है, बोलते वही सिंपल था, but the government servant has to report to the prescribed authority under the sub rule because the amount received by him would not be exclusively the amount subscribed by him, but also include the commission payable by the chit fund. Okay. Rule that's true above whether a report or subscribe permission policies. So as regards to above, if the amount received from the chain exceeds the prescribed limit, then the government has to report to the prescribed authority under the sub rule because the amount received by him would not be the amount, but he will also include the commission payable by the. As regards the second point, जो ये यहाँ लाइफ इंश्योरेंस वाला है, that is the government servant need not obtain prior government servant जो है need not obtain prior permission from the prescribed authority for taking a LIC insurance policy. You should, however, submit a report to the prescribed authority if the annual premium of an insurance policy, annual premium रिपोर्ट करना है अपनी तरफ से, रिपोर्ट पॉलिसी जो है if in any case the annual premium requirement was less than the model spent, but on conversion the annual premium exceeds the sum considered that the sum assured at survival benefit majority he need not government sum the sum assured as a survival benefit maturity of the policy he need not. A government servant need not report to the prescribed authority the fact of having taken insurance if they their own is less than the benefits. ठीक है, एवरी एनुअल प्रीमियम जो है ना, एनुअल प्रीमियम की बात हो रही है मॉनिटर he should have submitted a report at the time of receiving the sum. However, submit a report और ये ऊपर वाले हम बोल रहे हैं नहीं करना है, बोलते हैं 1.2 if in case the annual premium initially determined was less than the monetary limit prescribed in the limit. तो बोलता है रिगार्डिंग द पॉइंट रेज इन द फंड, बैंक वाली की बात कर रहे हैं इसमें बैंक to fill the bank limits, the monetary limits deposit in same bank account में बैंक नॉट कमेंट, सैलरी वाला नहीं आएगा उनकी डिपॉजिट्स जो है सेविंग बैंक और एक्टिव further clarification has been showed in the whether the subsequent per monthly or annually could be daily or fortnightly or quarterly with the transaction. The period of chit funds depends on the number of members and use limits of 10. Whether the limit of total value of chit funds should be also deemed to be coming under the period of these orders. Whether the government servant has to submit a report to prescribe authority only then premium of the insurance the limit subject to the condition that 1/6 from a lemon agreed in 1A rule 11 in paragraph 3.1 कितना जा रहे हो कितना डील में जा रहे हो the government servant to submit the report to the authority only if they पहला बोलता हूँ transaction in money पहला बोलता है why the subscription fund which are monthly understand subscription fund का transaction ये बोलता है ये याद कर लीजिए आप funds are transaction to move so basically does not क्या है of the check funds depends on बढ़ेगा तो आएगा गवर्नमेंट और पार्लियामेंट के अलावा बोलता है देयर इज नो कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन 3.1 and 3.0 purchase of units cannot be equated with the further claim regarding of question data paid by continuous premium passport by policy amount relevant to the position prescribed for information government prescribed authority for whether transaction will be power of the standard for international don't repair guiding regard the within claims shall be denied to the officer क्लियरेंस जो है ना डिनाइड जो है ना following year. Division and limit of current division. Sorry, division and limits. बोलते हैं डिवाइडेड रेफर टू द पास ग्रुप ए और ग्रुप बी के लिए भी है 10,000 रुपये ग्रुप बी के लिए भी है सब रूल परचेज ऑफ एग्रीमेंट चलिए फर्दर इम्पोर्टेंट है यहाँ पे ना एक चेंज हो गया फिर ये वहीं पर क्यों नहीं चेंज किया इसको मतलब स्टार्टिंग किया था हमने कर रहे थे यार डिबेंचर जो है स्टार्टिंग में दे रहे हैं कब आया है and refer page number yeah clarified since shares and since share security dependents are treated as movable property for the purpose of this if an individual transaction exceeds the amount prescribed in 18.3 exceeds the amount prescribed in 18.3 then it will be necessary the intimation prescribed in para 2 above will be in addition to this the requirement exceeds the limit prescribed in 18.3 क्या दे रखा है 2 month की basis. If an individual transfer exceeds the amount preceded, then intimation, इस केस में आपको intimation देना, intimation would still be necessary. The intimation prescribed in para 2 above will be in addition to their cumulative transaction. The sale purchase of both in share security limits. ये चलते हैं आपका ओके रिस्ट्रिक्शंस 18A पर आ गए हम आपका दैट इज 18A क्या कहता है आपका 18A that is restrictions in relation to acquisition and disposal of immovable property outside Indian transaction with foreign citizens. ये इंपॉर्टेंट है यार इंपॉर्टेंट इसलिए क्योंकि इस पर एक बार एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन आया restrictions in relation to acquisition and disposal of restrictions in relation to acquisition and disposal of immovable property outside India and immovable and time for notice and the no government sanction except with the previous sanction लेनी है आपको ठीक है with the previous the prescribed the authority acquire purchase mortgage lease gift or otherwise either in the name of his name member family or member outside India ठीक है dispose of their mortgage or lease in grant of any immovable property situated outside India which was acquired or held by him either in the name or the name of any family member ठीक है सेम तो है तो यहाँ पे एक्वायर कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे डिस्पोज ऑफ कर रहे हैं ठीक है enter into any transaction with foreign other or concern for the acquisition of purchase of mortgage lease otherwise either in his name or in the name of family member or any immovable property enter into any transaction with foreigner for the disposal for the acquisition or disposal ठीक है the authority has the same rule 10 ठीक है ADs क्या कहता है the time limit beyond which permission यहाँ पर present to have been granted okay ऑलराइट अब तो हमारा ये 18 जो है आज पूरा हो गया है ठीक है विद दिस थैंक यू सो मच हैव अ ग्रेट डे